Good morning everyone and welcome to Cars and Mods. Today we're going to be changing the spark plugs on a 2008 Grande Punto 1.4. Now, to do this you're going to need a couple of tools, and one tool that you should always have in your toolbox if you're doing any kind of work on a car is a torque wrench. Now, this torque wrench is rated from 20 to 210 Newton meters. It's pretty much perfect for anything you're going to need on a car. It's the type of torque wrench that clicks when you reach a certain force, and you just set it from back here, set it to whatever you need, click it back in, that's set. And when you tighten, it'll go click when you get to the certain force, so you know that everything is tightened like the manufacturer says it should be. Now, we're going to put this back in its cover. It's a good idea to keep these protected and not use them as a main wrench for anything else. Also, when you're tightening things, I like to tighten things with a normal wrench. Like, for example, straight on my toolbox, I'll use this one to tighten something up to the spec and give it like maybe one turn or half a turn with the torque wrench just to protect it, because those are pretty expensive and you don't want to damage it or use it too much. If you need smaller torque wrenches, they could come even in this size. This is not a torque wrench, but it's one of the things we're going to use today. So we're going to be using the torque wrench, we're going to be using this ratchet and this ratchet. This is a 1/2 inch ratchet, this is a 3/4. And a couple of plugs, and for me it's going to be a 16mm drive. I got a deep drive, a socket, or whatever you want to call it. This is a 16mm socket. That's going to be going on the torque wrench, and we're also going to be using some of these little sockets. So we're going to be using a 7mm and a 10mm to take off the airbox. Now, this is what my spark plugs look like. This is what a Punto spark plug looks like. That's from a 1.4 liter engine. But when you buy spark plugs, be careful to buy them for your car. Don't just go out and buy different spark plugs, because this is a spark plug from a 2 liter Audi 80. So you can see the difference in size of those. This is an 18mm, this is a 16mm. So definitely be careful to buy exactly what you need. Other than that, there's not much to it. You just have to remove the spark plugs and have a look how to get inside the engine. We're going to look at that when we get to the car. Now, I want to point out one thing that anyone should have when you're working on cars, especially on electrics, and that is, this is a complete kit, but if you have something similar to this, or you want to build a kit, then that's perfect. But this is a complete soldering set, and it has a soldering iron, soldering gun for those quick moments when you need to solder. This thing is very important. This is a solder sucker. So you push this down, and when you're soldering with your iron or your gun, opening something up, there's going to be extra solder in there. So you just push this little button, and it clicks, and it sucks up all the solder that you don't need. So this is pretty much something that everyone should buy. There's a pick in here, there's a stand for holding your wires with little clips, so you get like 2 extra hands, because we all know that when we're soldering, sometimes you need 2 extra hands, and maybe you don't have those, maybe you don't have a friend close to you or something, so you're gonna need some extra hands. But yeah, this is it, so let's just go into the install. So guys, going up to the install, you can see that I've already taken off the air filter. on these puntos, the air filter is, the airbox is a very strange thing because it's really big and it's mounted to the top of the engine. But that's no problem. There's a few bolts. Actually, there's 8 bolts. There's 6 7mm and 2 the big bolts on the sides. Those are 10mm. So we're just gonna go ahead and take those off and proceed with installing the brand new spark plugs. New spark plugs and new oil filters and things like that are actually essential when you buy a car. I've had this car for about a month and a half now, and I've already put one video up with taking the emblem off, which makes it look a heap better. The back is more clean now, but you can see right here that my airbox is actually broken. That whole thing I'm holding now is supposed to be one piece. So yeah, this is one of the things you can find when you're taking apart things. When you're modifying or doing anything to your airbox, you want to make sure you don't go overboard. If you change your filter with the whole box, don't be a ricer. Don't put your air filter next to your exhaust and things like that. The factory airbox is pretty good. It does the job. But if you want to go for a high flow filter, then yeah, definitely go for that, but try to keep it nice and functional. You can see the blown gasket there. That's the second problem we found. That's actually a boot that hooks up to the throttle body, so you can have an intake. You wanna also look for the spark plugs before you take more things off. Maybe you don't need to take more things off. Maybe you have enough space to access the spark plugs. But for me, I pretty much had all the space I needed after I took off the airbox and all its accessories and hoses. This is the 16mm socket that we're going to be using with the normal ratchet and the extension to reach the spark plugs. You can see the brand new sparks on the side of the screen on the left, just waiting to be installed. Always check and double check, and don't rush things when you're working on engines. Just don't do it, because if you rush things, you're probably gonna break something, and that sucks. If you break a plug or an electrical connection, you're gonna have to find that somewhere. My plugs were kind of hard to take off because, well, they really weren't taken off that much. I mean, the old plugs had about 6,000 to 8,000 kilometers on them, so yeah, they were a bit difficult to take off. So I experimented a little bit with the first plug, the first ignition cable, and took that off eventually and went on to the second one. We're changing the second one here. You can take the cables off. In the Fiat Punto, they just clip off of the ignition. It's a short cable, so that's great because you can move it out of the way and do the job there. But like I said before, you don't want to rush things. And right here, you're gonna see why you don't want to rush things. So I'm putting in my extension with my socket, and right as I go in and move it around a little bit, I actually noticed that the thing is touching an electrical connection that I didn't want it to touch. So I took my time, took it off, disconnected the electrical connection, put it out of the way in a safe place, and then went on to my job, taking out the spark plug. Now the spark plug is out. It's good to also, I forgot to say that it's good to have some kind of pliers. I didn't have long nose pliers, but those are really good to have because you can reach in hard to get places. Also, try not to do this when the engine is warm, because when it's warm the metals tend to expand, and you want it to have like as much of a stock form, as much of a like untouched form as possible. You don't want to take it off and have the metals contract more than it's needed. So this is what the old spark plugs versus the new ones look like. You can see the old one is all yellow around the edges and dirty. That can actually limit power, and you'll feel the new spark plugs in the car. You'll definitely feel them, because it's going to be delivering all its power efficiently and making all those noises we all love. I don't know if you guys can hear, but my cat is going crazy right now. So now, when you put the spark plug back in, you want to go to your torque wrench. When it's fitted and secure, go to the torque wrench. Use nice long movements with the torque wrench. You don't want to stress it too much. Set the torque wrench to its desired torque, and when it clicks, you can see there, clicky click. That's all you need to do. And after that, you just connect the cable back, rinse and repeat. Going on to the third cylinder, taking off the ignition cable. Sorry about that. Sorry about all the coughing in the video, but I think I'm catching a cold or something, because my throat is a little bit sore today. So the cable is off. These were a little bit there. You can see the cable there, how short it is. But these were a little bit hard to remove in my case, because they were probably gripped onto the spark plug. That's an electrical thingamajig, and if it's not proper, it could cause a spark between the cable and the actual spark plug. So if that happens, even if the spark is really small, it's not gonna be good, and it's probably gonna fuse to it a little bit. But again, we're taking off the spark plug. If you have a magnetic socket, that's really good because you can lift the spark plug right out with the socket and the extension. I didn't have one, so just use my fingers, and for God's sake, remember to take off your rings. Guys, I forgot to take off my ring and I destroyed it. So I scratched it so much I had to polish it after. Get the new plug. Just line it back in. If you can line it with your hands and tighten it so it doesn't cross thread, that would be awesome. I actually dropped mine here. So you guys can probably hear my crazy cat going crazy, but this is a real world show. We don't do a lot of editing here, so just raw things showing you how to do it and how to have fun doing it. Because working on cars is fun, and it should be. Getting all greasy is actually fun. So you can see here I'm tightening it with the extension only in my hands because I don't want to cross thread it and break the threads. That would be a goddamn tragedy. If you cross thread the block, the engine block, you have to get that refitted, and that's a big job, and you have to do it out of mechanics. What's started as a $20 spark plug change is going to turn into a $500, $600, or $1,000 engine block fix. So you don't want to do that. Go slowly. Take your time. Everything's gonna be fine. So you're wondering why I didn't gap the spark plugs. Well, brand new spark plugs, I put in good quality NGK spark plugs, and they come pre-gapped for this car. The place where I bought them, the guy actually told me that NGK gaps their spark plugs according to the car spec, to a stock car. So mine is a stock car, so that's fine. Just put them in. And it really did make a difference in power delivery. The car didn't have more power, but it delivered power better, it picked up revs better. And I'm thinking about doing an oil change next, and all the fluids. Just to make the engine run healthy and feel good. Because I like to drive my cars hard, and driving your car hard and not caring about it is a great way to break it. So we're on the last spark plug. This is a job worth doing if you have 1 hour free, because it doesn't take a long time. It takes 20 minutes if you know what you're doing, and it gives out better results. The results are so good, you're gonna thank me after. So I'm gonna let you guys watch the rest of this. I didn't include the reassembly in the video, but reassembly is just a reverse of disassembly. So it's fine. You just put the airbox back on. I replaced the broken boot, the rubber boot that was on the intake going on the throttle body, and I fixed I glued my airbox,
So everything's fine now. Waiting for the time when I actually get a an intake kit, a sports intake kit. I'm still deciding what to buy, but I think I'm pretty sure what I'm gonna get. So that big black airbox is gone because it's ugly and extra, and it doesn't do a very good job. Yep, that's the last spark plug hooked up, and now we're gonna start the engine. Hopefully you're gonna see it vibrate when it starts. Yeah, there we go. So we started the engine, everything sounded fine. Took the car for a drive. Like I said, it picked up power way better, and it went up in revs a lot more smooth. That's it. So that's been it, guys. See you in the next video.